Hello everybody and welcome to this lab. Today we are going to start by creating a Windows installation media USB flash drive as well as an ISO file for a Windows operating system. Before we get started, make sure that you smash that like and subscribe button so that you can get credit for this video, and make sure that you follow the instructions so that you can go ahead and get credit for the assignment. So, first things first, let's go ahead and open up our Internet Explorer or Firefox or Chrome, whatever version of web browser that you want to use. And we're going to go ahead and we are going to find the Windows Installation Media toolkit so that we can go ahead and download that. So we're just going to go ahead and type in Windows install installation media, click on that, and it should be one of the first links that you have pop up as soon as you type that in. You can see here it's actually the second link for me to download Windows 10 disk image ISO. We're going to go ahead and click on this. The link for this website is actually right up here, https www.microsoft.com /en-us/software-download/Windows 10. So if you can't find the link just by Googling it, that's the link that you need to get to go ahead and create this media. Once you're at this website, what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down here to create Windows 10 installation media, and we're going to click on the Download Now button. That didn't take too long for me. It might take a little bit longer for you. While you're downloading, depending on which version of web browser you're using, you'll either have this little pop-up here like you will with Firefox, or you might have something pop up at the bottom that says run or save. If nothing pops up at all as you're downloading that file, you can actually search for the file by going to your File Explorer down here at the bottom, clicking on that, and then just going to your downloads through your quick access toolbar, and you can see that it's right there. Regardless, I'm going to click on this, and as soon as it pops up, the screen's black right now. You guys don't see this on my screen, but it actually says, do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device? You just have to click yes, and that'll pop right through that. Once you do, I'm going to go ahead and minimize this. Once you do, you'll get this window that'll pop up that says Windows 10 setup, getting a few things ready. Now, this could take a little bit of time. This could take a lot of time. Again, it really depends on what type of operating system you have on your computer right now and what type of material you have as far as hardware. If you have enough memory, if you have a big enough hard drive, so on and so forth. First thing that's going to pop up here is your end user license agreement. You know how these things work. You have to hit accept, otherwise it's just not going to do anything. So you can read through it, or you can just go ahead and click the accept button, and it'll continue to get a few things ready. This Windows 10 setup wizard is actually really self-explanatory, even though we're going to go through each step. If you read through it carefully and just choose the appropriate things, it'll work fairly quick. Now, we're not upgrading our computer. What we're doing is we're creating this USB drive in the ISO file. So we don't want to click upgrade. We want to make sure that we click on create installation media, and then we can go ahead and click next. As far as this next set of instructions, we have the ability to click language, architecture, and edition. We don't have to change this, and we're not going to. However, if you have a different language that you speak, or your computer is set up with a different style as far as language and everything, you can change this. To change it, all you have to do is unclick on this box right here, and you can go through and change all these things. But we're not going to do that. We're going to leave it the way it is, and we're going to click next. Now, we're going to go ahead and create the USB flash drive first. This flash drive has to be at least 8 gigs. I have one in my computer right now that I believe is 32 gigs. But make sure that you have at least 8 gigs. I would suggest a 16 gigabyte flash drive. So we're going to use a USB flash drive first. So we'll go ahead and click next. And you have a couple different USB drives listed here. You can see for mine. I have a D drive, an E drive, an F drive, and a G drive. While you're doing this lab, you individually, you should probably remove all of the USB drives that you have in your computer except for the one that you're trying to configure for this process. The reason that we want to do that is because when we click on the USB drive that we want and we click next, it's going to format that USB drive. And right now, as you can see, mine's selecting D, which is my Seagate Backup Plus drive. This drive is filled with gigabyte upon gigabyte of movie files that I have. And if I reformat that, my life will just start bleeding apart because it took me hours upon hours to do that. So I don't want this one to be the one that we're reconfiguring. Now, if you don't want to disable the USB drives that you have in or disconnect them, what you can do is you can go into your File Explorer and click on the one that you find that is the correct one. So for instance, you can see that I have the Seagate drive. I have something called New Volume. If I click on that, you can see that this is my working folder of all of my different files for WCC and so on. So I don't want to do that one. I also have my F drive, which is a larger external drive that has some WCC files. And then I have this USB drive G. USB drive G is the one that I actually want to format. So I want to make sure that I click on G, and you have to make sure that you're not clicking on the wrong drive here. I can't stress it enough. So I'm clicking on G, and I'm going to go ahead and click next. Now, this process might take a little bit of time. However, for my computer, it's actually moving fairly quickly. At this time, what it's doing is it's downloading the Windows operating system from the computer and putting it onto the USB drive. Notice I said from the computer. This is creating a USB drive of your computer's operating system. So if you're running Windows 10 Home, it's creating a Windows 10 Home USB drive. If you're running Windows 10 Pro, it's creating a Windows 10 Pro USB drive. If you're running Windows XP, you're in problem. You should probably upgrade your computer. So if you're not running Windows at all, if you're doing this on like a Mac or something, then it will take a little bit longer because it's downloading it from the website instead of the computer. So like I said, this process, it took a little bit of time. It didn't take too long. And now it's going to verify the download just to make sure everything's good. Again, this progress could take a little bit of time, but it didn't. And now it's actually creating the disk the way that it needs to create it so that it can be a bootable USB drive. Notice that in the background in my File Explorer, it's not that haven't been edited yet. So this creating Windows 10 media is still processing. Once this is done, all of these files will go away. But I'm going to go ahead and close this File Explorer. Again, this part of the process could take a little while if your computer's got only 4 gigs or 8 gigs of memory, or if your processor is a slower processor. But hopefully this process shouldn't take too long. But while you're waiting for this to download and create this file the way that it needs to be created, again, if you haven't clicked on that like or subscribe, please make sure that you do, so that we can see that you've... Okay, now that that process is done, man, that took a little while, huh? Now that that's done, we can go ahead and click on Finish, and we have ourselves a USB drive now. So if we click on our File Explorer again, and we scroll down to our G, you can see that its name changed to ESD-USB, and the files changed as well, giving us the ability to have a bootable USB drive for Windows installation. Now we're not done. We still have to create an ISO file for the lab as well. So we're going to go ahead and go back to our Internet Explorer or Firefox or whatever, and we're going to open up that Windows Media Creation tool again. If you're not using Firefox and you can't easily click on the download that you just did up here in the corner, you can just go to your File Explorer, go back to Downloads, and click on Media Creation Tool Media Creation Tool 22h2.exe. That will again bring up the screen asking us if we want to allow the application to make changes. We'll click yes on that. And it will again create this wizard, or start this wizard up for us to create our ISO file. So this process is going to be just like the last time. We're going to go ahead and create the USB drive when that comes up. And then instead of creating a USB drive, we're just going to go ahead and click on ISO file. So we have to accept the license agreement one more time. And then after the wizard is done with its processing, it will ask us if we want to create a USB drive or ISO file, or it will ask us if we want to upgrade Windows. We want to go ahead and click on Create Installation Media and click Next. Again, we're not changing anything in the language, so we're going to click Next on that. And this time, instead of choosing USB flash drive, we're just going to click on ISO file. Now, an ISO file is a file that has all of the capabilities of the USB drive that we're creating, only it's used for creating virtual machines, which is what we'll be doing in this class. So we need to have this ISO file. So we're going to go ahead and click on Next here. And we just need to save this file. Now, this is saving it currently to my documents. That is fine if that's what you want, but I'm actually going to save it on that F drive that I had earlier that has a bunch of files on it. So for you, for this class, you should have an external 1 terabyte or greater USB drive, and that's where you should be storing this file, which is what this My Passport is. This is a external 1 gigabyte or 1 terabyte or higher USB drive that I'm using for this class and other classes. So this is where you should be saving it. It's not necessarily going to be the F drive. It could be something else, but make sure you save this file there and make sure that you name the file appropriately. Right now it says that it's the Windows ISO. I'm actually going to change this to Windows 10 so that I know that this is actually Windows 10, because later on we might have a Windows XP ISO that we use or a Windows 7 ISO that we use, and we want to make sure that we know that this is the Windows 10 operating system. So I'm going ahead and click on Save. Now your lab instructions might tell you that you need to save this in a specific folder or something like that. Just make sure that you're saving it on that external drive and that you're saving it in a folder that makes sense. So for instance, if I'm looking through the lab documentation, it looks as though, no, it's not telling me where I have to save it in the lab. So just make sure you're saving it on that USB external drive. Also, while this is downloading, let me reiterate the idea that you do have to go through your lab documentation that is also part of this lab and make sure that you answer all of the questions in the lab, as well as submitting your trouble ticket form for lab 1.2, which is a form that we're utilizing for you to tell us what you basically learned from the lab and how it worked and what you accomplished. So make sure you submit both of those documents into Blackboard when you are completed with this assignment. So again, this is creating Windows 10 Media. This process might take a little, so we're going to go ahead and click on Finish, and we're all done. So like I said, you have some questions inside your lab document that you're going to have to go through and answer those. And then once you've answered all those questions, make sure you submit the lab document as well as submitting the trouble ticket form to Blackboard for your assignment. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope it was helpful, and enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you in the next video.